Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Boss Horse Podcast, a great place to play games and be better. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Deering, and alongside me is the bad pharmacist herself, Stephanie Klimov.
I'm so used to hearing the PC muscle race. Ron Dawkins.
I could say the PC muscle race, Stephanie Klimov.
No, I don't deserve that title. Miss you, Laron, and hi, everybody. I'm here with my lame wrist, but my not so lame cat.
Not so lame cat. Paxel, are you awake?
Paxel.
Or are you just chilling?
She's chilling like a villain. She did a good job protecting the house today. I told Pat before you hopped on, when I just have the storm door open, like the glass, she'll sit there. And every time a delivery person or the mail guy comes to the door, she hisses at him. I'm like, ooh, good girl.
That's a good girl.
Yes.
Nice. Also here, speaking of Pat, is PK Power, Pat Klein.
And my bum nostrils.
Yes.
Because I got a cold.
It stings the nostrils.
Oh, yeah. Every time you breathe, it's like a fire being lit under the... Actually, it's not as bad anymore today. I think I hit that hump, that peak yesterday. Because I actually had a high higher than I've normally had kind of fever. But no, they don't sting as much anymore.
Cool. Well,
look, we got Corey. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You're getting sick. Pat's getting over sick. Ron is sick. David has been bedridden for 2 days with I don't know what it is. I think it's COVID. And then a coworker is sick that I know. Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah, it's going around. It's one of them STDs. Nope.
Oh no.
Nope.
Man,
oh no.
Why can't I get sick the fun way?
Oh,
no.
It burns.
Yes, it doesn't. It wasn't fun.
Oh man.
My gosh, you guys.
Man, getting checked for STDs is not fun for men.
I was going to say, how do you get checked for STDs?
Or we'll say humans with penises. I don't want to assume.
It's kind of funny. I was at a physical a couple of years back. It was like my first physical in a long time, and the doctor's like, "You want me to check you for STDs?" I'm like, "I don't really have sex."
Oh,
he's like,
Pat,
okay.
You should have said yes. I have lots of sex.
Hell, so much.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Even if I did, I would say no. Nope.
I mean, I don't have any burning or discharge, and like everything looks normal down there. So I would assume I don't have anything.
Look, I don't know if it's changed in the last decade, but when they take a massive ass Q-tip that's like the length of your forearm, and they decide to swab inside of your pee hole.
They have to shove it up your pee hole?
Yeah. It's not fun. They say they numb it. They say there's a little bit of cream that numbs it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work. Do not believe them. Take a pillow. Take a pillow. Bite it because it's going to hurt. Okay?
Women just have to pee in a cup or draw blood. Well, okay, we do have to deal with a pap, but anyway.
Well, this was like, what, 2013, 2012, 2013? So, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's changed since then for men, but that was that. So, anyways, this
my
isn't
mind's
After Dark,
blown.
but
my mind's blown. Sorry.
Oh man, there's a joke in there somewhere. Anyways, welcome to the Boss Horse Podcast, a video game podcast.
And somehow we fit holes in there again.
Hey, we just got done on the pre-show talking about, women,
holes.
men, and games. going back all the way to the 80s, you know why they call it a joystick. It's because you held the gamepad in your lap and it stuck up like a male genitalia. So
And it
that's why
was
it's called a
fun to move
joystick.
it around.
Yeah. So, but this is the Boss Rush podcast, a video game podcast. So you can support this hot mess of a show over on Patreon. Patreon.com/Boss Rush Network, where you can get our pre-show before every episode for $1 a month, and a bunch of other perks like early access to book club, question threads, voting rights, and more. Some of our stuff's going to be changing a little bit just to because it's scheduling is hard, and mostly on other shows, not this show. This show's staying the same, exactly the same. Book club staying the same. So go over there, support us. You can become a Patreon producer at the $5 tier. But if you can't support us financially, you can subscribe to the Boss Rush Network on YouTube or rate us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Them 5 stars. It really helps us out. Really appreciate it. You can check out all of our content on our website, bossrush.net, including Boss Rush banters, features, listicles, reviews, and so much more. We have some upcoming content or already out content that's very relevant. Pat, what do you got coming up? What are you doing?
Well, currently I'm not sure when it's getting released, but I did a side quest for our friends at the Fun and Games podcast.
Nice.
And
what
so
game?
I did a Space for the Unbound.
Nice.
So hopefully that'll be coming out here sometime. Other than that, we have a ton of book clubs out there that you can listen to. Our most current one for the Patreons is Dead Space with LaRon Dawkins. Or you can listen to the Zelda one for free, and that has Amanda Von Heel from the Zelda universe.
Nice. Yeah, that was a good one. It's one of our shockingly perfect timing to come out for free, by the way, with Echoes of Wisdom being out. But one of our highest listened to book clubs ever. I think it's only behind Alan Wake at this point. So Alan Wake 2, I guess. So thanks for listening to that episode. Stephanie, there's quite a bit of spotlight things going on.
Right, yeah, we have had Billy Basso on, interviewed the developers of Desktop Explorer. That's pretty recent. I have a couple interviews coming up soon. One with Anton of Perfect Random studio out in Sweden, I believe. He developed Sulfur, which was at the PAX Rising showcase at PAX West. I believe I'm interviewing him next week. And then the following week, closer to Halloween, or no, sorry, I don't know. I don't know what the dates. They're all going to come out soon. I'm interviewing Tobias from Warhorse Studios about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Nice.
And I also have Adam, aka Crash Troid. Sorry, I met him at PAX, and he did the music behind Peglin, the indie game that's like a pachinko roguelike. That was a lot of fun. And he gave me a Peglin pin. So I have those 3 on the roster. There's a couple that are in process, but I don't want to mention it in case, things get delayed. But yeah, I got a couple in the pipeline.
Cool. I also have a few in the pipeline. We are working on scheduling way forward for not 1, but 2 spotlights.
Oh, yeah.
One for Clock Tower Remastered and one for Yars Rising. So those will be coming up within the next couple month or so, I'll say. And Finish Line Games, who the studio behind Robots at Midnight, which is the kind of cartoony-ish action RPG that has Souls-like influences. We played it at PAX East, and I fell in love with it instantly. It's coming to Game Pass at some point, too. So if you have an Xbox, it'll be coming there. That'll be coming soon-ish also. There's a couple other feelers out right now, but again, like Stephanie, I don't want to, and now I don't want to put the cart before the horse, as they say. So a lot of cool stuff coming up. Plus, we got to start preparing for the Bossies and the Game Awards, and
Already?
I know it's October already.
I know. I've gotten a notice like of one of the several games I pre-ordered, Mario
Mhm.
Luigi Brothership that comes out next month, that they're gonna add the pin set. I'm so excited. More pins.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm.
how's that? Who's getting that steel book? We're not getting that, right?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. No, we don't ever get cool things like that. I don't know where
Nope.
the steelbook's coming out at,
I
to
think
be
that might
honest.
be a Japan only thing. Let me double check. Oh no, that's Europe.
Oh,
Man, Europe
Europe.
actually gets something cool and we don't.
I
Boo.
mean, Europe always gets the steelbooks. I mean, the Link's Awakening steelbook that I ordered, I had to import because we didn't get it. It was like the what they call it, the Dreamers edition of Link's Awakening. Like
I do
every
remember it.
version except for the US version came with the steelbook. Every version except for ours came with the steelbook, and it was the same price. So I imported the
Mm.
steelbook because somebody was selling their steelbook for $25, and I'm like, well, it's Link's Awakening. I gotta get it. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I love that game. Love it. Speaking of love, we love games. I think we've been playing games. So, hey, Pat,
What?
you get to go first today.
What? No, I
Surprise!
don't.
Happy birthday!
But it's not my birthday.
Wait, Pat, is it your birthday?
No,
Oh,
April. Way, way out there.
I was gonna say I thought I missed something. I got concerned a little bit.
I mean, you might have missed something, but I guess that's for you to figure out.
I miss a lot of things, Pat. Don't get ahead of yourself here, okay?
All right. Well, I finished game number 35 of 2024 and platinum number 91. Ender
Holy
Lilies.
moly.
Yep. Ender Lilies, Quietest of the Nights. And that game was a treasure to play at all times. Like this is probably one of my favorite games I played this year. It's absolutely gorgeous, absolutely breathtaking soundtrack. A very like simple but um, melancholy story. If you like Metroidvanias, you have to check this game out. Like it's definitely something that was very well done.
Nice.
Yep. Other than that, the other game I've been playing religiously because I want to try and beat it, but I'm also really enjoying myself with it, so I'm taking my time, is Visions of Mana. I am
Ooh.
now about 40 hours into it, and I would technically, a lot of people say I should be done with it by now, but more side quests just keep popping up, so I just keep doing them. And
Mhm.
it's not like they're interesting side quests. They go by pretty fast, and it's usually the kind that are like, get these items, fight this many bad guys, or fight this super bad guy. And then, you get I don't even know what half the rewards I got. I'm pretty sure it's just money for most of it, and then like an ability seed that I could add on to my character to customize what they can do. But, I just do it just to clear the map.
Oh
But
man, I can't wait to play that game.
it is incredible. This is easily my favorite mana game out of the entire
Mm.
series. Like it
Oh.
definitely blows even Secret of Mana out of the water.
Wow.
Like it reminds me more of actually playing a Tales of game than it does playing a Mana game. Like the characters are so fleshed out, the world is just so diverse, and it's like the level designs are so well done. Like there's a reason to just go out and explore and try to find all the things that can help boost your power up, but even like just the stages themselves, like they use most of the world is elementally themed by one of the eight elements that's in the game, and you get to use the spirits in a lot of these levels, and they do fun and fascinating things, such as maybe like creating wind tunnels that will blast you forward, or giving you a grappling hook kind of beam, um, or manipulating time itself. Like it's depending on whatever the ability is. It's really cool how they implement them into the levels, and the levels just felt really well crafted. Even like just they're all absolutely gorgeous too. Like there is something about the storybook visuals, but it's like realistic storybook visuals, I guess, or at least in terms of like the particle effects, the ray tracing. Like it is a stunning looking game, and the story is just phenomenal so far. I don't know why people say, "Oh, the story's been done before," and it's like, yeah, but you're not going to find too many original ideas out there, and the way that they make the story in this game is like it's good. You feel the camaraderie of your characters together. Each one has a very distinct personality. Um, and like they just mesh very well. And like it's a beautiful game, and I highly recommend it. It's probably one of my top 3 RPGs this year that I played.
Wow.
Uh, yeah. Um, Final Fantasy 7 is still up there. And chances are Metaphor is going to take some place when I get around to it here later on this week.
How's
Nice.
the music?
Oh, it's excellent. Man, the Mana soundtrack has always been a beautiful, like, it's great soundtrack, and it works well with like the environments that you're in.
Good, because I've
Hmm.
yet to crack open the CDs because I'm still playing through Tears of the Kingdom and Final Fantasy 16 OST because I got the CDs for those two, but I also got the
Hmm.
OST for Visions of Mana.
Yeah, no, Vision of Mana is a treat. I highly recommend, since I know you got like the collector's edition, I do
Hmm.
recommend that this is one of those games you actually try out. So,
For sure. I'll be playing that after I beat one of the games I'll be talking about.
all right. And finally, I've cracked open Diablo 4, The Vessel of Hatred, the DLC expansion that came out technically last night. And it is definitely more Diablo. Um, it's weird. Like, I come back to Diablo and they completely changed like a lot of the interfaces and like systems. So it's almost like playing a new game again. I remember like craft like leveling up gear pieces, several times, and now I don't think you can do that anymore. They changed up the foraging to now a tempering system, and like then there's all these other things that have just like little tweaks that they've done. Even difficulty level now has like, instead of being like weird like world or just different names, it's now like normal, hard, then like nightmare, and then like torment, and then torment level 1 through 4. And it's it's interesting, but they kind of like just revamped it to make it, I guess, a little more accessible to people. From what I understand, I don't think you have to go through the campaign to get the DLC. I think it allows you to skip if you want to, but it does take place after the Diablo 4 campaign. So there will be a lot of spoilers. But then again, the trailer also kind of spoiled a lot of things too. But the gist of it is, after the events of Diablo 4, you're chasing after a girl that kind of who kind of ran off with a gem carrying the soul of the greater evil of hatred. And so you're trying to save her before, the hatred can fully consume her. And it opens up a new region that's very jungly uh, in nature. They've added a lot of new features, especially end game features, such as something called the Dark Citadel, that you can do runs with your friends, and it's almost like a raid style kind of run through this dungeon to get more loot and level up. Um, Other things, like if you're a solo player, kind of like me, they've now added a mercenary system, a mercenary companion that you can, once you recruit, you can like select and add these people into your party. So now you have NPC controlled partners to help you out with your battles if you want them. Or you could just go and solo it at your own pace too. That works also. But it's interesting to see a lot of the refinements that they made in this game. It still plays very well. Like it's still a lot of fun just to go out and just completely decimate hordes of bad guys. And the story is very, very dark. Still very dark, even though you technically beat the big bad in the main game. It's humans suck. We'll just put it that way.
They do.
Humans might be the greatest evil of all, and they do really weird and horrible things.
The more you know.
Yep. But hey, if you like Diablo, give it a shout. You know, hopefully, I kind of heard a little bit how the story goes with this, and I hear it does end on a worse cliffhanger than what the game ends on. So
Oh no.
it might be a series that they're doing. Maybe they're doing something like a Destiny, where they're gonna
Mm.
release like major expansions like every other year or something. But yeah,
Okay.
other than that, I've
Interesting.
just been playing what you guys have been playing.
Have you been playing what I've been playing?
I have been playing a little bit of what you've been playing.
Mm. Mm. Stephanie, what are you playing?
Um, Other than wrapping up Farewell North, I do have a review coming out for that. I've started two games. I'll
Who?
start off with Silent Hill 2 because I don't think either of you are playing it. Pat, you're not playing it, right?
Nope, it technically just became available today. So,
Oh, right. Sorry.
yep.
Yeah.
But
Silent Hill
I chose
2.
Diablo. So,
Fair enough. Silent Hill 2 remake by Bloober Team released today. For some reason, oh, now I know why. I purchased or pre-ordered the deluxe edition because I wanted the soundtrack and the art book, even though they are digital, and I hate digital and I'd rather have physical, but I still am a sucker for a soundtrack and art book, so I got it. And it came with a 48-hour early release. So I took advantage of that because I'll be working a lot the remainder of the week. And Bloober Team, good job. I honestly always had a feeling that they'd do well with it. I loved their game, The Medium. I do think that they would do the best to kind of honor and cherish, I guess what fans would call like the most beloved of or fan favorite of the Silent Hill series, perhaps
mhm.
debatable. I'm not saying it, it's just what I've been told. Um, the graphics are good. The gameplay, the movement and everything is not bad. I don't think I have a lot of complaints. Um, it is very atmospheric. I just before this, like 2 months ago, I played the OG Silent Hill. Um, and even though the premises are slightly different, right? Different characters, whatever, but there are definitely things that are the same, like obviously the fog, the other worlds and the designs and the different levels, whether it be a apartment complex or a hospital. Holy crap, they nailed the atmosphere. Cause once I start hearing that radio static come through my controller, but I can't see the enemy, I start freaking out. The first time I saw a zipped up sack of flesh hobbling towards me, I nearly pooped myself.
Man, that's the simple one.
Right, yeah, and, like, because the reason why the original Silent Hill didn't it still scared me, quote, unquote, but it didn't terrify me because the graphics really weren't that great, and I'm like, "Oh, look, it's a little blob with a triangle knife, butter knife that's stabbing me. Oh, well, I died." Here, I'm like, holy shit, it's a sack of flesh, and I can see it sewn up, and it's puking acid at me. Help, Mom, help. Oh,
Then you knock
man.
it over, and then it starts crawling towards you in a weird, wiggly
Oh.
way.
Mm.
And they
Really
move
A
fast.
fast.
wiggly way.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yikes.
the twitchiness of some of the monsters in here, like, so freaky. Like, I saw Pyramid Head for the first time yesterday. I was like,
Yeah, where
"Oh,
he's just
God."
staring at you through the bars, and you're like,
Yes.
Mm.
And,
hopefully you
like,
don't ever run into him, right?
right, and then, like, when you come through the other side, he's gone, and then you're, like, hiding behind the closet,
You got
right?
the closet scene too, where
Yeah.
he's violating.
Violating, he's violating. He was violating the weird legged creature,
Yep.
right? And that yeah, so at first I started without a guide because I felt like I could do it myself, but I ended up looking up a guide, and the reason is it's two-part. Because this is a lore heavy game, and the only reason why I'm pushing myself through a horror game because I'm a weenie is because of the lore. Like, I want to know the world of Silent Hill. There's notes everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I noticed the first leg of the game, well, I'm still early on at the first portion, I missed a lot of notes. So I was pissed at myself and I can't go back. So that's why I pulled up the walkthrough. I want to be able to get all the notes so I can fully understand the story. And the other part is if there's a really bad jump scare, I just want to know, or else I'm not going to be able to play the game.
uh,
But but it is good. I like it a lot. It is pretty linear. Um, the puzzles the puzzles are Resident Evil-y. Um,
does the game give you a difficulty option with the puzzles?
yes. So there's
Okay,
a
because that
separate
that was
difficulty.
that was in the original too. I was wondering if that happened.
Yeah, difficulty slider for both enemy and puzzles. So I've entered the other world for the first time. It's the apartments.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, very atmospheric. So I'm when I say I'm enjoying Silent Hill 2, I'm petrified the entire time, but I'm glad I'm going through the experience. I'm playing on my PS5, and that's why I say like that. I got Visions of Mana, so I'll have to play Visions of Mana after I play through Silent Hill. So
Mm-hmm.
that's that, and then the other game is Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. But I figured I'd wait till we get to Corey, and then we can all kind of chime in about our thoughts, our initial impressions of Wisdom.
Well, we already talked about last week, so we can't talk about it this week.
We can totally
Oh,
talk about it this week.
okay. I'm sorry. Well, then I'll just say where I am now. I'm
I'm
I
just
I
No, we
we're
can.
joking. We're
We're gonna.
joking.
We'll talk about it. He was being a pat.
We last week we considered this and that we were talking Zelda without you. So
Yeah, we only talked about it a little bit. We did talk about how the bed was the goat though for quite
it's
it's
a
the
while.
goat.
it is only the goat until you get the flying tile and the enemy that like the stompy enemy that
Yeah.
can lift you up.
I think I missed the echo for the floating tile because don't you get that in the Gerudo area?
Yeah, you get that in
Mm-hmm.
the temple.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because they crashed into a boulder I put in front of myself and I never got an echo of it.
You have to
Um.
run before they blow up.
I'm gonna have to
Like
go back.
yeah, you have to like learn it before they like fly up and hit you.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
Mm.
right. So, you know how both the Jabul waters and the Gerudo Desert are the first two major rifts that they point you in the direction? So I chose the Gerudo Desert first because I like the Gerudos. Beat that, and now I'm just getting started at Jabul waters. So that's where I am right now.
Love the waters. I love that River Zora village. It's so cool looking.
Oh yeah, the character designs are adorable. I love how they have both the water and the sea Zoras. The sea Zoras are cute too. Um, the Gerudos are fantastic. The Echoes are a lot of fun. I'm almost treating it more like a collectathon. Um, I will say though, my list of echoes is already quite long, and I'm only in the beginning part of the game. So that sometimes can be a little annoying if I need this like one obscure echo to do this like one obscure puzzle, and I'm like, all right, where is it? Um,
I usually have mine set up at based on cost, because then the ones that I tend to use tend to always be the more expensive ones, anyways.
oh, that's a good point.
Um, but yeah, also last learned, because when you're in an area, typically a lot of the ones that you
Yeah.
find in that area are used in that area.
True. Now, I have a question for you guys on how you approach using echoes for fighting enemies because I have one or two favorites, but I notice in a more fast-paced or more challenging fight, I tend to scramble and I already have like a dozen enemy echoes. I'm like, which one do I use?
Yeah, I mean, I just usually have like the pig enemies with swords follow me around, and then if there's like a flying one, I'll summon a flying enemy just to take it out. I'm usually a runner, so I'll just run away.
The moblins.
Hmm.
the yeah.
There's the moblins and the borlins or whatever, I think are the desert ones
Mhm.
as well. Like I got a level 2 in the desert, and that was actually my go-to for a while until I got a level 2 sword moblin. And then that was pretty cool. But let me tell you, the level 3 sword moblin, he kicks ass.
All right.
I'm a bad Zelda fan. It's fine. I am a bad Zelda fan though because I only played it for like an hour since last week because I've been so sucked into Ghost of Tsushima at this point.
Yeah, that's to be fair, that's a very good game to get sucked into. I don't think you need to be apologetic for that.
Yeah. Um,
Uh,
I'm saving Zelda because I'm going out of town this weekend. We are It's kind of like an anniversary trip slash kids want to go have fun type thing. So we're gonna go to the Columbus Zoo and the Science Center and go swimming and all that kind of fun stuff over the
it's
weekend.
awesome.
Yeah. So I'm saving Zelda for that trip because I can't exactly take my PlayStation 5. It's not exactly portable.
Mhm. Yeah, it'd be
Um,
Yeah,
tough.
if only you had a portal.
but how am I? I'd still have to take my PlayStation.
No, you don't. If you have a really good Wi-Fi connection at the hotel, you can
What
actually
hotel
play.
have you been to that has good Wi-Fi, Pat?
Maybe a
Mm,
hotspot on a phone.
mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Our friend Taylor, she brings her portal with her wherever she goes, and she plays Genshin just fine on that thing.
Well, good for Taylor.
Yep.
I'm just kidding. Uh,
Well,
but
overall, I gotta say I'm loving Echoes. I'm still the jury's still out for me on where I want to place it on my favorite 2D Zeldas, but it is already high up there. There's something really fun about the dungeons. I'm so glad the dungeons thus far have been the more traditional style.
mhm,
And I'm not the type that says everything has to be traditional Zelda now. I definitely see significant Breath of the Wild era influences, and I'm happy that Nintendo seemed to have married both old and new together. And the
mhm.
dungeons are so fun, not too hard, not too easy. At least what I've experienced so far. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
I
I 100% agree, and we actually have a question on this later
Oh,
about
okay.
traditional 3D Zelda games. But yeah, I think bringing back the traditional dungeons with the kind of Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild twists in them is just the perfect marriage. We said this at PAX, but like, we didn't. Well, at least I really didn't understand or know how this was going to work. Having this, kind of solve how you want to in an overhead Zelda 2D space, but once you're locked in and you figure it out, like it just clicks. And Pat, I think you, me, and Andre were talking about one specific puzzle, and we all solved it different ways. Um, Last week in the Gerudo, like getting into the Gerudo temple, and it's just like, man, those are the types of things that Zelda exists for now, right? Is like these stories of, oh, man, puzzles are like crazy. I did this. What? No, I did this. And it was just it was really cool to, you know, figure that out and see all the different ways these puzzles were being um, solved. So
Mhm. Yeah. I will say the dungeons definitely become a little more involved. I actually just had a dungeon that I did not like, but it's a
Ooh.
very kind of go in your own way. There's like multiple entrances to this dungeon, and they're all connected eventually, and it just. You remember the Lost Woods from Link to the Past, except for you, Corey, because you never played the game?
mm-hmm.
Mm.
You remember the Lost Woods dungeon in the Dark Realm,
Yep.
where it had like all these little parts literally scattered throughout that
Mm-hmm.
all the entrance. Yeah, that's what this dungeon kind of was like. Like
Oh,
it had all
okay.
these little entrances scattered around its still world that you like went into, and it's like, okay, you progress until you get stopped and you can't figure out what to do in your room, so you leave and you try a different entrance, and hopefully get somewhere off with that way.
Okay.
I didn't care. I don't like dungeons like that, but you know what? Kudos for bringing those back.
Yeah.
But also, my biggest complaint in this game, there are too many damn stealth missions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you guys only experienced one. I've experienced already two more.
Yikes!
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Throw the pots at them.
Yeah.
Hide in put make a wall of trees, the pot trees.
Yeah.
Oh man,
They're just
good times.
overused, and I don't like it.
Mm, mm. Zelda's cool though. I also like. God, I love that they went back to the Link's Awakening kind of aesthetic though, because
Hmm.
it's so fun. It's so charming and cute, and just the dioramas kind of setting of like toys kind of walking. It's just I love it so much. It's so it adapts itself so well to the top down Zelda.
It's growing on me. I'm more of the I like the more mature-ish looking Zelda, but that's kind of hard to do in a 2D. But no, I do find it very endearing. The overworld theme, I catch myself humming it all the time. What was the one other thing I was and quick note since we have talked in the pre-show and you should be on our Patreon if you want to hear the pre-show. Speaking of females, right? So we're playing as Zelda and we're not counting the CDI games. It with not counting that, this is the first time we're playing as Zelda. I am glad that of the way Nintendo executed her in this game because whenever there is a female or like a ethnic minority as a protagonist in a game, a movie, a show, I don't like it when I get the feeling there it's shoehorned in there, or I feel like we're being is it patronized? I think you know what I'm saying. Like sometimes I feel like people put things in for diversity's sake, and good night. And like, "Oh, girl power, yay!" No, I mean, Zelda's just there, and she's just doing her job and exploring. So, basically, it just feel that's my long way of saying it feels very natural to play as Zelda and not forced, and I'm very happy about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely didn't. I didn't even think about Link. Once you start playing as Zelda, you just don't think about it. So,
It's kind of
um,
crazy how not many people really know who Link is in the game. Like, oh
yeah,
yeah,
he's just the
I saw a
swordsman.
mysterious swordsman the other, and it's like, is this what the NPCs are like in the other game? Like, do they remember? Like, oh hey, there's me and Link, we were buddies, and it's like, no, this random dude in green just talked to me at one point, and then that's all my experience was with him.
Hmm. Yeah. It's I mean that even that opening right where you play as Link, even like going as far as I've played through, it just kind of playing as Link kind of feels out of place. Even playing as in the sword, like the sword
Mhm.
mode, right? The swords.
Sword fighter mode? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Feels out of place, right? Because it's like, oh, I don't think I'm supposed to be playing like this.
True, but I'll admit there's sometimes I get so frustrated and I'm like, all right, screw this, boop, and then I just
Mhm.
slash my way. But I'm glad it's not like it's a short-term thing, right? It's
Yeah.
very limited in scope. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I could go on forever talking about this game. I do enjoy this.
Yeah. I usually use the sword mode for bosses.
Yeah.
Whenever their weak point pops up, it's like, okay, let's get in there and slash the living shit out of it, and then turn it off when it disappears.
Pat, do the bosses get more interesting?
Oh yeah.
Not that the early bosses were bad, but it's just, one of them, like the Gerda one's like a little goofy. It was fun, but it was a goofy boss.
There's the bosses definitely get harder. I will
Okay.
say that. I struggled with boss 4 and my 5s. The interesting thing about this game is you can do uh, temples in just about any order. And well, you got your initial like 2, but then later on in the game more open up and you can tackle them in however you want.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm definitely excited. Also, it's like I saw somewhere online that it's like to 100% it. It's only like 30 or 35 hours, which is pretty decent. Probably take me longer, probably more like 50 because I'm slow and awful at games. But yeah, Zelda, everybody. If you have a Switch, you should play it. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
You know what? With the making of this game, what I would love to see Nintendo do is make a Zelda game be kind of like a three-part game where you play like it'll be element or it'd be Triforce themed with Zelda and Wisdom, Link with Courage, and then Ganon with Power.
I
And
would
like
love that.
literally like you can play these games and they would tell like a different story of this saga where maybe like Ganon's rise to power, Zelda doing whatever she does to get her, power of wisdom. Link does his side to get his power of courage. And, like one of those, like maybe depending on what order you play the game would like affect the ending. Like if you played as Ganon last, then maybe Ganon wins or something.
That'd be so cool.
Then we can get a true split in the timeline.
Mhm. Yeah, a fourth split. Oh no.
No, if I had to put this one in the timeline, though, this one's definitely in the Link to the Past universe, whichever split that is. It is literally the same world
Mm.
with just like an additional 33% more map.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a big map. Big map. Well, I guess I'll talk about Ghost of Tsushima real quick. I don't know what I can say that hasn't already been said over the last 5 years at this point, but man, it sure is an Assassin's Creed game. It's not that that's a bad thing because I love Assassin's Creed. This is the way the map is set up and the way the mission structure works is it feels right at home. I'm really enjoying that aspect. It feels very familiar for me as someone who loves that series. I think the characters are really interesting. I'm in the middle of the Straw Hat Ronin missions.
Mm. Hmm.
I think that character is really cool, and I got the grappling hook finally. I've put about 20 hours in, but most of it is just, oh, there's a thing on the map. Let's go find it. Oh, it's a fox den. Let's go follow the fox and praise the statue and then pet the fox. Oh, that's a Mongol thing. I should go kill them all and take over this blow up their cart and take over this fort
Oh,
or
hey, it's a haiku. I get to look at random things and make the weirdest poem
yeah.
ever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I'm really enjoying it. The only kind of two things that I wish this had that and this is a me thing. It's not necessarily the game's fault, but like, I really feel like the camera is so pulled into the character. Like, I wish you could zoom out like a
It
lot.
does though when you get to the hot springs.
Well,
Then it starts zooming out.
okay. It also fades to black. Very timely.
Yeah.
That's gonna be very interesting. I can't wait for the internet to go nuts over that when there's a female protagonist in this game.
Oh boy.
It's a volcanic region. That means there's got to be hot springs somewhere.
Yeah. And I think the bamboo chopping things are really challenging because
I love
I'm slow.
those.
And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I gotta get it. The other night I was like, it was something like X L1 X X squared R1 L1, and I kept messing up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my fingers are not fast enough. I am not coordinated enough to do this. And then like half the time when it would say press X, I would hit square because I'm so used to the Xbox controller, and X is where square is, and
Mm.
Technically, it's called cross button.
whatever.
Oh,
Cross out your
Astrobot.
face. But the other thing too is like you can't really lock on to enemies. You kind of just face them, and there's no real clear like, oh, I can't just click in the stick to lock onto the enemy that I want to fight, because like sometimes I'm surrounded by enemies where there's the shield guys where you have to have a specific stance, and then there's the pole guys that you have to have the water stance, and then the sword guys you have to have the sword stance, and it's like I'm surrounded by like 6 guys and they all have different weapons, and I have the shield one equipped and I'm trying to fight the shield guy, and then the spear guy comes up behind me and I have to I automatically just switch to fighting him now, I guess. And it kind of throws off the fluidity of the combat, I would say, but that's just like a minor thing.
Man, not
Maybe,
gonna lie, that makes me miss playing that game.
yeah, it's I think I'm going to try. I was looking at the platinum trophy list. It does not seem difficult at all to get that platinum trophy. It's just a time commitment, which is usually most of Sony's first party games, I guess. But
yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I don't recall there being too many hard things about this game.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just I'm really enjoying it. I think I've been using the traveler's attire to find the different scrolls and the different artifacts around the world, and also it clears the fog faster. I think I've upgraded it, and now it clears 30% of more area than it normally does when you run through, and so that's really helped a lot. Also has brought up way more icons on the map than I plan, because it's like also right now I'm in this part where Jin is supposed to be helping Yuna do something, and I go to this side objective, and every 5 steps he's like, oh, I should go check in with Yuna and see if she needs my help, and I'm like, shut up, I want to go I want to go chop some bamboo. Leave me alone.
Like, listen, I don't care about the stake of the world. I'm going fishing.
Yeah. Like, so it's fun though. I'm really, it's finally gotten to a point where like I am used to it and I'm enjoying it. It does really make me excited for Assassin's Creed Shadows, honestly. Like I'm really interested to see what their take on a feudal Japan is, despite all the issues they're apparently having, and the obviously the atrocious atomic bomb mistake they made in that statue. That was probably should have done some research on that, but yeah, that's what I've been playing. Very fun, very fun. Enjoying it very much.
If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.
Speaking of enjoying, why don't we enjoy our Boss Rush banter of the week as I stall here to open up the dock because I closed it on accident. Our banter of the week is the best way to enjoy Alien Isolation. So this can be found on bossrush.net, just like all of our banters. Every day you can find something on our website, bossrush.net. You can read something fun and cool and interesting. But the question I have here pertaining to this Boss Rush banter is, what is the best way to enjoy horror or tension-filled games, and what are some of the games we've played in these genres and kind of set the mood, if you will? Who sets the mood for their horror games? Stephanie, you're playing Silent Hill right now. How do you set the mood for Pyramid Head?
Oh man, I tried, right? So the first 2 nights that I played, or the first 2 times that I played, it was in the dark. After I realized it, I'm not going to go into that. I also tried with headphones. It was definitely the most immersive experience. If I wasn't such a weenie, I would have continued that method, but today I played a little bit with the lights on. So, yeah, I know that's kind of like a stereotypical cliche answer, but if you really want to set the mood, if you do need to have the lights on, just as long as it's not like a spotlight over your head, maybe like a soft glowing light in the corner. Make sure there's no other noises and distractions, because then that'll freak you out. And because horror is all about the experience of the senses, right? So you want to be able to see or not see, because Silent Hill, everything's freaking dark, and noises. You want to be able to hear the sounds crystal clear. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the last game I had set the mood for was Alan Wake Remastered. And it's interesting kind of setting yourself up for a game like that, because usually, like, I don't play horror games, so usually, like, either my lights are on or I have the LEDs on my TV kind of rotating colors in and out and kind of matching the colors on the TV and trying to immerse myself that way. But with Alan Wake, like, it's kind of funny because my LED has a mode that's called it's called flashlight mode. And so, like, there's this camera that hangs over my TV, right? And it kind of points itself at the TV and it kind of tries to read what's happening on the screen. And that's how it kind of projects the colors around the TV to try to match what's going on the screen. But it kind of detects like lampposts and flashlights and headlights of cars, and through this mode, like, and when you're playing Alan Wake, like, right, like when you're sprinting towards the street lights or the the lampposts, that's your safe zone. And so, like, you're running towards it, and like as my TV kind of, like, you're running and you just see the light kind of get brighter and brighter on my TV. And then some of them, like when they pop or they go out, it's like the TV just like goes black, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on?
That's
So dark.
really cool.
Yeah. And it made that experience kind of extra scary, and it doesn't matter what I thought about the game or not, but like it just made that experience more immersive that way. And it was cool. It was a cool experience, right? And then, the same thing with Resident Evil Remake, like, when you're walking through the castle and there's fire everywhere, there's like orange and yellow lights kind of fluttering around my TV like a fire is going off. And
That's really cool.
yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned TV too, because that's one other thing. I'm more of a handheld gamer, but I've noticed with horror games, I will play on docked or basically on console with TV.
Yeah, it's cool. I really like I'm really glad I invested in those LED lights and the customizable ones, because it was very immersive in every game. Even, you know, I even use it in stuff like Destiny and non-horror games, but it looks awesome too on like Mario Wonder and games like that too. But we're not here to talk about that. Pat, how do you set the mood?
Well, to make sure that I one out you, what I do is I make sure all the lights are turned off. Then I start the fog machine. Make sure we get a nice thick fog going on. We turn the TV up to a complete maximum. And then we also hire a guy to occasionally jump out and, you know, attack us while we're playing the game. So, you know, just to show how hardcore of a horror gamer I am. No, I will try to play more during the nighttime. Not specifically to set the mood, but more because like I don't have the like dark blinds or whatever to cancel light and make my TV actually look decent. Otherwise, sometimes those horror games are a little too dark, and I kind of like to see where I'm going.
Yeah.
Yep, looking at you, Outlast. I know that's your gimmick, but god damn. Pitch Black is not exactly a good running around situation.
No.
Yeah, man, Outlast, man. Like, oh, that game is
Seriously, what kind of camcorder runs out of batteries in like 60 seconds?
most of them, the cheap ones, the ones you get from Walmart for $20.
You're supposed to be a professional reporter.
Mm-hmm.
You would think you'd have a better camera. But
Yeah. So, but I mean, so what is the best way to enjoy the horror experience? You turn all the lights off, or do you play in the middle of the day with all the lights on, like I do sometimes when I have to play one?
You know, it's whatever gets you through the game.
I guess that's fair. But there are people out there that like really like love being scared, and I don't understand those people. You know, I mean, like I could hear Lasby from here when Alien Isolation 2 got announced because, you know, I'm like, no, you know what? He's probably playing from inside a locker, hiding from that thing. But you know, I can't do it. Like, I don't even know if I can play Alien Isolation on the Switch in handheld mode.
No. That's like why I have this like love-hate thing while I'm playing through Silent Hill, because I'm like, I'm loving the experience, but I'm also hating being terrified. Like, because I'm playing at the end of the night because I'm busy, and playing Silent Hill 2 is the last thing I do before I went to bed. I had to medicinally take care of myself to bring my heart rate down so I could go to sleep.
Yeah.
melatonin.
It's great. I don't want to. So it's funny you bring that up, going to sleep, because my wife and I have been watching Agatha all along on Disney Plus, and one of the episodes has like this really scary bat demon in it. Not spoilers, I guess, but not really, because whatever. And I'm like, I'm not sleeping tonight after seeing that. I'm just not. I'm not.
Really?
Yeah, it was fucking scary. Let me tell you.
Wow.
It was like this bloody bat demon with like this skull face and like fangs just coming out of its lips. And I'm like, oh my God, this is gross.
Ooh.
So gross. And it was on fire and bleeding and dripping and screeching.
That doesn't sound right. This show's rated PG-13.
Is it? I'm not sure it is.
It's not Echoes or Daredevil.
Yeah, it's fair. Also, Aubrey Plaza's in it, and that's kind of why I'm watching it. So just leave it at that.
She does great in everything.
She's great.
Everything else can suck, but
yeah,
she's in it. Gotta watch it.
Yeah. So, well, that's if anybody have anything else to say about the horror stuff, because
horror games are great. You should play them.
I did. I played Resident Evil 4 and Alan Wake Remastered and Luigi's Mansion. By the way, Luigi's Mansion, great game. You should play it. Just a bundle of joy.
I like horror games that do have substance. I can't do horror games that are just horror for horror's sake, which that's not to say that it's bad, it's just not my type. And I've now learned that there are plenty of games out there that have that. So
yeah,
my journey continues.
yeah.
Outlast has great lore. You should play it.
I'll watch a Let's Play.
The lore about the naked men that are chasing you with their dongs.
The twin men.
The twin men with their dongs out.
Oh man.
Yeah. And then like they do like surgeries and stuff in that game, at least
Yeah.
in cutscenes and trailers. I'm like, no.
Yeah,
I don't want to see you rip body parts out of somebody.
That's a very disturbing game, yeah.
The DLC had this guy that was about ready to give you an extra hole.
Yeah. Was that what, Whistleblower?
Yep.
Yep.
This guy, like,
you were supposed to be his wife or something.
He was going to saw an extra hole right between your legs until something happens.
Oh, I didn't realize this was After Dark.
There's some sick moments in that game.
Sounds
Some.
like
We didn't even talk about the second game.
Do we need to?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There's a whole giving birth scene in that one.
Oh.
And he's gone.
He's like, I've had enough.
I'm back. Am I back?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, oh, everything froze for a second. But it's fine. We're all good here now.
Yeah, I should
Thank
probably
you.
not play with that cord. Just in case.
How are you? All right. Well, let's get into our listener questions. Remember, you can join the Discord or look for our question thread on Patreon or Twitter, or you can send us a good old-fashioned email. A lot of people have been leaving comments on YouTube videos as well, so
Nice.
I am actually going to start posting pinning a question thread there as well every week once the new video posts. So you can go there as well, and I will check the last 2 videos every week for that. You can write in just like the one true James did via Discord, and James asks, what horror media do you play, watch, read every year?
To be quick, just video games. I don't like scary movies. I don't read scary books. I don't like anything scary to begin with. So that's my lame answer.
I do occasionally like a good horror movie. In terms of something I usually do every year, I usually play a Castlevania game around this time of year. I know it's not really horror, but you got your classic monster tropes and your villain's Dracula, so... but I do try to play some spoopy titles or some games that have like horror elements. Technically, Diablo 4 is kind of horror-ish.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely themed that way.
Yeah.
Are you gonna play Vessel of Hatred? That's not out yet, is it? That comes out in November, right?
Did you listen to the games I played?
Yeah, I did. I can't remember, man. I can't remember what I did 5 minutes ago. Yes. I already forget the last segment, so.
I did play Vessel of Hatred.
I just forgot it was out.
It's fine.
I heard you talk about Diablo. I didn't remember Vessel of Hatred. I'm a terrible host. I'm sorry. I'm taking notes and I'm crying and I'm...
Oh, you got to turn your hat back around. I'm not used to that.
I know. I don't like it. I know. I was having this debate on if it was time to... was it on this show? Maybe it was last week. Was it last week where LaRon and I were talking about if it's time to change up the look since I'm losing weight and maybe it's time to...
Yes, it was last week.
Yeah.
And that was like
That-
most of the pre-show.
And then I decided not to take my hat off because it scares me. I did get a haircut though. So,
Or just embrace it like I do.
what?
Just embrace it like I do.
I know, but it's I've been wearing the hat backwards for 10 years on the shows. It's the character, man. I need to go through that phase where I go away for a while, like Eminem, and then he comes back and looks way different. You know, that's all I'm saying.
I'm just saying, if you go through that phase and start changing your name to like Yee and getting metal teeth, we're
Mm.
disowning you.
Mm.
I don't think I'll be doing that.
Make
I
wise
won't.
choices.
Mhm.
I won't be changing my name. I won't be buying, thousands of gallons of lube. I won't be
Aw.
peeing on teenagers. Who else? What else have terrible rappers done to people? I won't murder anybody. That's also terrible. Anyways, let's move on.
Anyway,
It's
next question.
Onyx Lone Wolf writes in, which side character do you think has a better story than the main protagonist? I can't remember if I've asked this one already. Or is there a video game villain you think deserves their own game? So it's funny, Andre and I were actually talking about this. I can't remember if it was on Pow Block or after Pow Block, but we were talking about a Twilight Princess sequel that stars Midna as final form Midna in the Twilight Realm and her quest to kind of rebuild the Twilight Realm and the demons that are still there. And I would love that. I just love Midna. I've been thinking about Twilight Princess a lot lately though. So yeah. Midna's the GOAT. So also Ganon deserves his game too. That
I was thinking more Ganondorf, but
Yeah.
I could be fine with both.
Yeah, Andre and I were talking about that too, where that like From Software should partner with Nintendo and make like a Souls game set in
Mhm.
Hyrule, and it's all about the rise of Ganondorf from the Gerudo thief to the Demon King, and how it could be like an origin story for him almost.
What if he never was the villain? What if like Hyrule's the villain? He's actually trying to save the world, but
Why you gotta ruin it, Pat? He's the bad guy.
just saying he could.
What if Link was the bad guy?
Dun, dun,
There we go.
dun.
He doesn't say anything. He has a lot of secrets to hide.
Mhm.
Who walks who walks these realms for years, centuries, if you will.
Who goes
Just
around
doesn't say words.
entering into other people's houses and breaks their pots?
Yeah. What kind of psychopath
Mhm.
steals their money too, their hard-earned cash that they're hiding.
Mhm.
Like peasants in Robin Hood.
It's also Zelda focused. Maybe it's just because I've been playing Echoes of Wisdom, but I would love a game that's focused on the Sheikah, maybe specifically Impa. Doesn't have to be Impa, but I think it'd be cool. Very like a ninja type style game. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
You
Almost
know,
like a Bayonetta type game. You could do too.
I was gonna say, I really appreciate that Castlevania, even though it was an absolute, like, it was probably one of the worst Castlevanias created. I like that we finally got to play as Dracula in Castlevania Lords of Shadow.
Mm.
Like, that was a nice twist, finally. In terms of like a side character that should have his own game, obviously we went with Garl for Sea of Stars. Garl was far more interesting than any of the main characters were. But I'd also go with a Gumshoe game for the Phoenix Wright series.
Okay.
Because Gumshoe's like best bud. Always got your back. Willing to take all the blame just so he won't break a promise.
Yes. Carl.
Naive, but lovable.
Oh, Carl's the best. That's the only reason I think I stuck with that game as long as I did is because of Garl.
Mm.
He's such a lovable character. I love characters like Garl. Man, maybe I should go back to Sea of Stars and play that.
DLC's coming out, right?
Yeah, I think there's a.
I just don't know when.
Yeah, it's
There's
soon-ish,
a
right? November.
I think it's next year. I thought.
Oh, I don't know. It's so hard to keep track of all this stuff at this point.
Yeah.
I've been so like nose deep in the Destiny and the Halo news this week that it's like everything else is kind of blown over.
Mhm.
So that Halo news, big news, by the way. It's crazy. They 343 Industries rebranded as Halo Studios, and they have totally scrapped the Halo Infinite engine in favor of Unreal Engine. And there are multiple Halo games in development, which is quite exciting, including what everybody thinks is a Halo Combat Evolved remake from the ground up to launch with the next Xbox for the 25th anniversary, which would be like, if Xbox is going to pull out all the stops, that's the stop to pull out, right? No doubt pull out.
But is it as big as Ubisoft's news and hopefully getting 10 Assassin's Creed games in the next 5 years?
Awesome. I can't wait. Bring it on. I'm ready for it. I think 2 of those are the mobile games, though. Jade, which is the Chinese one. That looks cool. I wish it was coming to console.
It's been over a year since they actually said anything about that one.
I know.
They're like, hey, you should pre-register for it. And that was the last they've heard.
Yeah. All right, let's move these questions along. Sam Hall writes in, my question for the next episode, since Zelda has been exploring open world 3D space and the traditional 2D top-down space, would you ever like to see a more traditional 3D Zelda game come back? If so, what would you want it to be like? What era? And what would the story be? Thanks for the great episodes week in and week out.
I will say I would like a traditional 3D Zelda, but I believe if I was a betting woman, we will never see a traditional 3D Zelda ever again. We might get a 3D Zelda that's like Echoes of Wisdom in a sense that it's open world. You can tackle things in any order, maybe more, even more traditional dungeons. Like they'll insert certain aspects that might be traditional, but as much as I do not want that, I just feel like the fully traditional Zelda as we know it, like Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess, I'm not sure that'll happen again as much as I want that.
Yeah, I kind of think the 3D Zelda games are going to be more Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, open kind of things. But I think the people that want traditional 3D Zelda games are missing the dungeons, right? I mean, that was my biggest thing with Breath of the Wild and even Tears of the Kingdom to an extent, was like the traditional dungeon structure is gone, and
dungeon gimmicks.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, that's what's missing. And I think you could totally do the do the traditional Zelda dungeons in a world like Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild. You totally could do that. And I know the shrines are kind of like that, but like you could do such a great open world with these traditional dungeons. And Pat, like you said, the gimmick, but like the other thing too is like maybe you get, you have the master sword which doesn't break, right? Well, what if there are master weapons, right? Like a master bow that, maybe is more powerful when it's charged up but doesn't break, or the master boomerang, or these different things that you just use in Zelda dungeons, right? Like I think there could be an interesting twist on the breakable weapons, because that's also a big gripe by people, right? It's like you go do these dungeons, you get the unbreakable version of this weapon, and maybe it's not as powerful, but then you use the upgrade method of, you're upgrading your armor, right, with the gems and the rupees and the flowers and the stuff you find throughout the world. Like make those weapons stronger, right? Like you can go in and craft those weapons to be stronger or shields to be stronger, right? And I think you could definitely do something interesting with that. Um, so
But
I think there would be a happy medium there.
if I were to create my own, like, because a part of his question was like, what would you want in a traditional 3D Zelda? To keep things fresh, because I think that's part of it, right? Nintendo had to change the formula to keep the franchise fresh, and that's what I would think anyway,
Mm-hmm.
is one that takes place outside of Hyrule. There's been a couple games that take place outside of Hyrule, but there's always kind of like a link back to it, no pun intended, or just like another world, dark world, whatever. Like I would actually wish like what if Link had to go to another unknown country or something and kind of expand in that place. So given a completely fresh setting can be a place where you can revisit the old style of gaming. That would be very nice.
I definitely agree with that. Like before, it felt like Zelda games rotated their bad guys. Like you had Ganon, but then you had the Link Shadow
Mm-hmm.
trial, but then you had Ganon again, but then you had the Nightmare in Awakening, then you had Ganon, and then I think
Vati
yeah, you
at
had
one point.
Body, you had Majora, you had the bosses from Oracle and Season or Ages and Seasons, even though like
Mhm.
combined together it was Ganon again. But it's like we had even the DS ones had villains that weren't Ganon, and it's like you know what, you have done these other regions before. Like it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't necessarily always have to have the same players. Like let's
Yeah.
go out and let's explore something different.
Yeah. And what would be cool is if you actually took the Link and Zelda from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and they left like, Stephanie said they leave Hyrule and go to a different region. But like I just I really love the Breath of the Wild Zelda and Link. I love those versions of those characters. Like I think they've maybe grown to be my favorite versions of those characters, even though there have been bits and pieces where like, oh, I really love the Skyward Sword version of Zelda, or I think the Twilight Princess version of Link is super cool, but like I'm gonna be really sad when there's a new Zelda and Link. It's gonna make me really sad to move on from these characters, and I would rather just see them in a new region, right? And take Pat's notes of like, we're in a new region. Ganon and Ganondorf are gone. The Demon King is gone. What other villains can we explore in this era, right? Like how do we evolve those other villains in this era, you know?
Yeah, it could be a little bit of political intrigue, kind of like
Mhm.
Final Fantasy 16, how there are like different factions vying for power and backstabbing and all that stuff.
Heck,
Mhm.
even Mario has different kingdoms. Like they went
Mhm.
to the Flower Kingdom for Wonder.
Yeah.
There's the Bean Kingdom from Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. Like
Mhm.
the Dream King. Like they have all these different kingdoms.
Concordia.
Concordia is the new one.
Yeah. So,
I can't believe they put that
Roguesport.
trailer out when Concord got shut down. They put out the Mario and Luigi trailer. Oh. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Stephanie.
I forgot.
All right. Secret Superhero 1358 writes in. I have a horror game based question. What are your thoughts on some of the multiplayer horror games that are out, like Dead by Daylight, Predator, Hunting Grounds, and that Friday the 13th game that came out all those years ago? Uh, Funny enough, I think all those games are made by the same studio. Maybe not Dead by Daylight, but uh, have modern horror games taken away from classics like Dead Space, Silent Hill, and Resident Evil? I would even throw The Evil Within in there at this point. Great shows as always.
Mm, I feel like obviously they like the multiplayer because you get to play with your friends, and you also get to play as a killer. But I still feel like there is a place for the Resident Evils and the Dead Spaces. Uh, Capcom has obviously showed that with all the remakes, as well as the continuing of the Resident Evil series. And we also just seen the success of Silent Hill 2. I would also throw Supermassive Games in there
Mm-hmm.
and their take on horror by having you make the choices.
Mm-hmm.
That, in the end, whether you survive or your friends survive is based on what you choose or how you go about a certain scenario. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, I feel like there's enough takes out there for all the horror to exist.
Yeah.
I just hope that there will be more original content once all the remakes are done, right? Because we're living in a nice little golden era of all the Resident Evil remakes, Silent Hill remake. Um, I mean, I know Village is technically considered more recent, but that's why, like I mentioned, the Medium not too long ago, because that's like a new thing from Bloober, and I'm like, all right, I want to see more of that.
Yeah, I mean, we got Silent Hill F still like coming out, and
Oh, true, yeah.
because of the success of Silent Hill, too, it makes me a lot more optimistic for F.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of
Good
course,
point.
the rumored Resident Evil 9's due to be the next Resident Evil. So,
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
hmm
I think I don't think it really takes away, right? Because you guys made a lot of great points, but you look at the horror genre in movies, right? You have the slasher films, you have the campy horror movies, you have, you know, really thought out thriller like Hannibal and Silence of the Lambs, and there's subgenres within the genre, right, of everything that makes it more appealing to certain people. So um yeah, the multiplayer stuff's more popular, but I just think multiplayer gaming is more popular in general anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so maybe that's why it just. Also, Nicolas Cage is in Dead by Daylight, so automatic win there.
Yep, bad guys
So,
can't touch him.
so stupid. Our last question comes from M2 Reality. Man, you guys need some names. Sorry, I don't mean to make fun of your names. My names are stupid too. M2 Reality writes in. Why do you all think Dead Space didn't take off like Resident Evil or Silent Hill did? Was it a time and place thing? Are EA's expectations too high? What is the likelihood of Dead Space 2 remake or a new sequel?
Ooh, wish Laurent was here for that one
I
because I
know.
don't have any input on that.
I know. I almost
I
saved
have
this for him.
input for this.
Okay.
Okay, so my feelings for why Dead Space died. EA got greedy. They wanted to make a multiplayer focused Dead Space, and typically when a horror game goes multiplayer, it stops being horror because now you're no longer isolated. You have companions. Also, they went the route of to get the true ending, you need to buy the DLC
Mm,
as well. And
love that era.
yep, as well as the game, the last game felt lazy. Not remake, but 3 felt lazy. Like they reused a lot of the same hallways in the exact same manner. Um, and it wasn't as fun as the other ones. And the story also just kind of just went weird. Like it almost became like almost like Mass Effecty in a way, to the point where it's like, well, this isn't going to end well regardless of how much you try. But I guess that's kind of what horror is. You hardly have a good ending. Um, but the likelihood of a Dead Space 2 remake is zero. The EA specifically came out and said, sorry, this game didn't sell 13 million copies, so, it's not good for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame though.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like the team that made it, like, remember they went out of their way to like talk to fans and like make sure that they
Mm-hmm.
gave Dead Space the love and attention that it it deserved. I didn't play it, but I've watched people play it, and I heard fans of Dead Space play it. I don't see like the game. There was anything technically wrong with the game at all.
No, they went through a lot. Like they talked to a lot of the original developers. They got a lot of input. They tried to make this as true to the Dead Space universe as well as tie in to games like Dead Space 3, because that lore didn't exist when the original Dead Space came out. So they really tried to flesh it out. And it sucks that EA again is greedy and it's like, no, we don't like single player games because it's a good game. Maybe if we get Callisto Protocol 2, maybe we'll get a Dead Space remake too. That seemed to be the motivation, is to ride off someone else's coattails.
Yeah, maybe. That was also at a point where, like you said, it went multiplayer and became less horror, right? I mean, Mass Effect kind of went the same route too. It was like, not that it's a horror game, but definitely more fast-paced, action-oriented, right? And I feel like EA was definitely in that mode of like, we got to appeal to a wider audience so we can make more money type thing. And I mean, Resident Evil did that too with 5 and 6, right? Where they really opened up the games to be more action oriented and less horror focused. And that was just at a time where these companies were like, we need to appeal to more people because we feel like we aren't selling enough copies. And Resident Evil 6 still remains to be the best selling Resident Evil game, right? I mean, it's still, regardless of,
weird because it's the least Resident Evil game.
And Mass Effect 3 is the best selling Mass Effect game. And I think Dead Space 3 is the best selling Dead Space game. And so it's that's just how EA was going. And they changed Dragon Age 2 to be more action focused and less RPG. It was just a time. We got to appeal to more people so we can sell more units, so we can make more money to pay our shareholders. Good times. Love it. It's why you need to support indie games, everybody.
Lots of great horror indie games too.
So, but I think that's gonna do it. I think we did it, everybody.
Fun.
Good job.
How fun.
And look, it's not even 11 o'clock yet. We did it. So
this is perfect because I got to get up early to do a major presentation. Oh yeah.
I'm
still recovering, so I could use that extra 15 minutes.
Sleep is good. You both need sleep. We all need sleep.
Who's sleeping?
What are you holding?
Oh, it's a sign that someone I work with made me, and it just says, "Please don't die."
Oh my gosh. Okay.
It's just a sign that you're supposed to put on your desk.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's fun. So anyway,
Especially
it's
for
just
work,
it's like a fidgety. I found it and I brought it home. It was on my desk at work, and I brought it home, and it just became my new fidget kind of thing. So, anyway, speaking of fidgeting, we need to get out of here. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening to this episode of the Boss Rush Podcast. Find us every Monday. Support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Boss Rush Network. Subscribe on YouTube. Rate us on your podcast service of choice. Stephanie, Pat, thank you for your time tonight, as always.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone for all those questions. Keep them coming. I love it.
Yeah, I would honestly rather fill the podcast with questions than topics. Because topics are more filler than I would rather have audience input. So keep them coming. Thank you all out there for listening and or watching. Send Laurent some love. Laurent, we hope you feel better. And we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Night.
Bye.
Forgot where I was in the outro, so I just ended. It's fine. If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/Boss Rush Network. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig,
Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.